10 minutes past 11 on 5AA, 8223 0000 is the number. Thrilled to have in the studio with me as part of our NDIS Spotlight from ADL Support Services, the founder, Lisa River, and director, Ben Ulstrup. Morning, guys. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
All right, thank you. Lisa, for people who have heard the Business Lounge segment that's on 5AA at the moment, you talk about starting up ADL Services because of a family experience. So that's what got you into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started ADL Support Services around about 6.5 years ago, actually before the NDIS had been rolled out in South Australia. It was around in infancy, looking after people under the age of 7. So it was like an early intervention program. However, there was certainly plans for it to be rolled out nationally, which obviously it has now. I started ADL Support Services through watching a close relative's rehabilitation after a significant injury and brain injury. And it became really apparent to me a few things. One, we as a community needed more education around how to best support and treat people with significant differences or disabilities, but also for sustainable and age-appropriate support. Mm-hmm. The only supports that were available for this person who was in his early 30s were supports that fell under the aged care system, which, though brilliant in a lot of ways, wasn't really appropriate for someone in their early 30s.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, actually, about people who, for whatever circumstance, and, you know, sometimes it might be a stroke or whatever, as a young person who essentially end up in aged care, which is just so terrible. It must be terrible for everyone around them, let alone themselves.
Absolutely, I think... And I think it's also, you know, it's important for our community to be educated around that this is happening to younger people. Younger people in their 30s and 40s are having strokes, are having brain injuries, are having, being diagnosed with significant disabilities, even, you know, some younger onset dementia and so forth. So I think through education of the community as well, I think once people actually know, knowledge is really powerful. So when you can actually explain to people that there's people, you know, in their 30s living with dementia and needing significant support around dementia, they can very quickly go, well, I'm close to that age and this is the sort of things I like. And so we can sort of assume that somebody, for a lot of the time, people with disabilities in that age bracket have got those interests as well.
Now, we're going to get people, give them the opportunity to call into you off air in just a little bit. You'll be in our interactive lounge and people will be able to ring you there, have a discussion, find out how you can help them in an off-air setting here, so you won't have to come to air. Ben, how do you structure supports at ADL Support Services?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things is to make sure it's individualised. We want to help, individuals reach their goals. And we do that by setting up the support for what they need, and that might look different for any two people, even if they have, similar, disabilities or age or whatever. It's all about what that person needs as an individual. We do mates events. We do we do meal prep, meal planning, social events, whatever that looks like, whatever that helps them reach their goals that they've set out in their NDIS plan or with us personally.
Okay, all right. Lisa, do you match participants with your staff, with your care workers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest bragging points in the 6.5 years of our business journey so far is our sustainability of our workforce. I still have staff that started with me 6.5 years ago. And still have plenty of staff that have been with me for 4 or 5 years as well. And I think that's a really important part of the support that we're able to provide, is that we're keeping those staff. So those connections, some of our clients we've had for just as long. And so we're looking at, 4 and 5 years of working in a professional setting together, just like a lot of people will have with a family GP.
Yeah, okay.
They'll see the same GP for years and years and years. And I think there's a huge comfort in that. And there's also some security in knowing it's the same set of eyes, and they can really tap into, progressions of certain things and barriers that might sort of present, or things that are a bit different. And
and it's great from a relationship point of view as well, isn't it? Where you're familiar with a person that knows what your issues are, so when there's a need to get in touch, they can respond to that.
Absolutely, and having that trust that, our staff really do care, and they're there, for the long haul. I think we expect a lot from our clients sometimes. I think people, particularly that are living with psychosocial disabilities, for them to be able to, or cognitive disabilities, for them to be able to trust us initially, to accept us. Particularly, we're at the stage now of the NDIS rollout that we're seeing a lot of parents that perhaps have always looked after their children.
Yeah.
These parents are now aging themselves, and so that's at a point that they might have provided hands-on care for their disabled child for the last 45 years. And they're at the age now where they need to sort of, as they're aging, tap into another company that's going to help carry that support. And as a mother of 3 children myself, I can only imagine how intimidating and scary that must be.
Absolutely. Ben, you talk about social participation within ADL support services. What sort of things are available for participants under that? What does that mean, social participation?
Look, it's mainly about community access and trying to involve them in the community as best as to their ability. So, like I said, we do a lot of funds events, bowling, movies, kind of that stuff. But sometimes it can also just be about getting them out, getting them outside. Some of these clients, especially mental health and psychosocial, haven't even left the house, so just giving them the confidence and skills to be able to interact with the community, whether it just be, going down to the shopping centre and interacting with someone, on the other side of a kind of a store. So that's why we really try hard to find their goals and what they need, and then kind of, structure it to look like that. Find
their interests in the community as well, I think. And another big part of that, sorry, Ben's used to me jumping in and cutting him off. Has been what we've been working together for maybe 2.5 years now. So we've got a great relationship where we just let each other cut each other off. But a big part of community participation in its structure and the way it was structured by the NDIA when it was initially written was also when we look at, events that happen in the community that people sans disability would always attend. So in South Australia, we've got, events like the pageant every year. We've got the Royal Adelaide Show. We've got the Fringe. We've got the AFL and even the soccer that's been happening recently. So we're looking at ways on how people with disabilities that would normally go, oh, this person's got a disability or I've got a disability, I can't possibly go to the Royal Adelaide Show. When we talk about, a lot of the community access, we're looking at ways of how we can make this happen if it's an interest of theirs. And it might be, somebody that might be highly stimulated by lots of sounds and so forth. We can still get them to go to the Royal Adelaide Show with support, and it might be that we go at adjusted times and we make sure that we're gone long before the fireworks, and we have support workers in place, and we plan it out, and we have short trips and so forth. So that's another really important part of the community access.
That calls for a lot of dedicated people then, doesn't it, really, to be there on hand? Yeah, which Absolutely. Is what you were saying about staff. And, how are you going these days with finding staff? Is it as much a challenge? I imagine it is, as just about everywhere else.
Oh, look, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, one of our biggest focuses is also retaining. We want to keep our guys. Yeah. I'm a real big advocate, and the beauty of the services that we provide, particularly in community access, is that a lot of the entry point into these roles is relatively low. We can sort of upskill them on job for a lot of things. They certainly need certain clearances and certain modules to be able to come on board with us, but we can upskill them and put them in real structured roles where they've got a leadership team. So we certainly do bring a lot of fresh blood into the industry. I've got a little bit of a bad habit, or a great habit really, of hiring, people at restaurants, people at, I'll get chatting to people at the local supermarket, and, people that work in retail I actually find to be really great support workers, because they deal with people all day long, every day. Yeah. And a lot of the time without the benefits that my guys have of support plans and so forth to be able to look up. And so I'm often bringing in new people into the industry. Ben works exclusively with a lot of different providers as well, and looking at finding employment for other people that have got a lot of barriers as well. Right. We've got a lot of people with disabilities that actually work for us as well, which is absolutely, which is really cool. I mean, it's a disability just means they've got a barrier in one area of function.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not even a barrier; it ends up being an advantage because they've got that level of empathy and understanding that you can't teach.
That's wonderful. So that would help immensely. I can just imagine that. Ben, there's the Mates program through ADL Support Services. So how does that operate?
Yeah, this is one of my favourite kind of things I get to organise. So once a month, and we're even going into twice a month now, we get a group together and we'll do an actual group activity. So that can range from, we've done some pool tournaments. We've gone down to the Burnside Civic Centre and done like a games event. And it's really good because normally that support is just one-on-one, and it gives clients an opportunity to meet like-minded people with maybe similar disabilities, and actually form friendships, which might be something they've struggled with in the past. So to be able to do that, and some of the the fun that you see, how those times are just
And the beauty of another great thing about the Mates program is that we really, when we're looking at putting groups together, we're looking, because we know our clientele really well, so we're talking to our support workers who also know our clientele really well, and we're tailoring groups where we can see an organic friendship being a potential. We're structuring almost like a blind date-ish. We're structuring groups to work together, thinking, okay, these people have got similar interests, they could quite possibly get along. Because ideally, we'd love for our clients to be able to make safe friendships. I think one of the risks of people living with disabilities is they are at risk sometimes of some not so great friendships and not so great unions. And so if we can kind of structure that, and then they can have friendships where they catch up outside of their support hours, which is awesome. And they've got that, I guess, in the families of these people with the disabilities have got the security of there being a third party just in the background of those friendships, making sure things are, no one's being taken advantage of or anything like that in those circumstances, which is awesome.
Now, Tammy, producing, has told me to make sure I ask about the large white fluffy unicorn you've brought in.
Yeah,
so what's that about? It's sitting here on the desk.
Well, okay, so another particular radio station who we absolutely love and have worked with for several years, and I won't say their name because I absolutely love their CEO and I'm scared he'll yell at me. I was out with them on Friday. They had one of their events, and they're great. And they said to me, "Look, Lisa, you're great face to face talking to people. I could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles, but as they would know, correct, thanks, Ben. As they would know, you put a microphone in front of me and I get a little bit, I don't know, I'm just not as good." So they said, here's a trick, because obviously they all work in radio too. Take a teddy bear with you and talk to the teddy bear instead of talking to the microphone. And I mean, so far so good. Ben was a little shocked this morning when I rang him as I was driving to work at 8:15 this morning, and he'd just apparently got out of the shower, and first thing I said to him was, "Have you got a teddy bear?"
That was the start to my day.
Why do you need one? I'm like, yes or no, Ben? Do you have a teddy bear? Like, you're a 35-year-old man that lives alone. I want to know if you've got a teddy bear. But alas, he didn't. So this teddy bear actually belongs to one of our staff's little boys, Jaden. So thanks, Jaden, for letting me borrow Unicorn Leo.
You better look after Leo then.
I will look after Leo. It's
all right. Lisa, lovely to have you in, and Ben as well. Now, you're sticking around. We're going to run the interactive lounge, and anyone with any questions for you at ADL Support Services, or more generally about how they can use the NDIS and any questions like that, you're taking them off air, 8223 0055 in the studio next door, so they won't be going to air. So if you're listening thinking, I want to ask something, but I'm a bit shy or it's a bit personal, won't be going to air, and Lisa and Ben can help you out with any questions you have. Give us a call, 8223 0055. Thank you both for coming in. Lovely meeting you on air.
Yes, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Lisa River and Ben Alstrup from ADL Support Services. Tune into the